there, it's Erin with Time Saving Templates, and in today's video I am adding on another video to our series that I've been doing all about working with addresses in Excel. So if you've been following along, there are a few videos we did previously on separating addresses, calculating distance between two addresses, looking up zip codes, really great tips here, so I'll be sure to link to that. But let me get into our sample file. Okay, so this file may look familiar if you had gone through some of the other examples. If not, basically we are working with a list of addresses here, and these are real addresses. They're actually addresses of restaurants, but for the example, we are pretending that these are employee addresses, and we're working with an HR compensation scenario where we have three different salary ranges that are specific to different locations or geozones. Geozones, geo-tiers. I have another series all about that. I will link to as well if you're interested in the compensation background to using geo-tiers. But for this example, basically we want to take the information we have, which is the full address in one cell, and we also had previously broken this address out using some different formulas. We're getting the state in one cell, country, and then a state in zip. So using this data, we want to be able to assign which geo-tier each address or each employee belongs to based on their address. So definitely with this, I'll be using if formulas because, well, we can use the if formula or VLOOKUPs or XLOOKUPs. But basically we're saying if the state is Texas, we know it's going to be tier A. If it's Georgia, we know it's, tier A. So you could manually go through, but that would take too long. The difficult piece of this is that tier B includes California and New York, non-Bay Area for California, and non-New York City for New York, where tier C is reserved for only locations in the Bay Area and only locations within New York City. So we're going beyond the state. We need to look at the city or zip code to determine if they would belong in tier B or C when it's California or New York. So to do this, I started a table. Okay, so in the tab next to it, I've started a table here where I filtered out all the California locations, and then I can tell that the ones that are considered Bay Area and the others non-Bay Area, and then I assigned the tier C or B based on that. And then same with New York, I kind of just filtered out NYC or New York State, and then added the tier C only for New York City. The rest are tier B. So I can't just do a lookup on state because if I do for California, it will put everyone in tier B. For New York, it will put everyone in tier B because it pulls in the first occurrence. But I can do a lookup on state and zip because that is a unique identifier. Let's just start. I'm just going to go with, you could use either one, VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP. I have a whole series on how to use XLOOKUP, so I'll link to that also. Let's just get it started and see if we can get some of this information working. We may have to change it, but we're going to do lookup value. I'm going to be looking at state and zip code. So I'm just going to select the first cell on the same row, and then to the table, we're going to go to the table we created, zip, and I'm going to highlight all the way over to geo-tier, which is column G. Now, before I let go of my cursor, you'll see this number up here at the top, 104,857, and then times 5C. That means it's the fifth column, so I don't need to sit there and count how many columns from G. I can or 5. Then I'm going to let go of the cursor and column index. That's where I want to enter that I want the 5th column so I can get the geo-tier and false. I most of the time will use false. So we got that working, but for Texas and Georgia, we still need a different formula. Let's try this again in the next column, and then we can combine the two into one column using the if formula. Okay, so for the state, we can do just an if formula. We could do this. We could do the same thing and do a lookup on state only, but I'll use this opportunity to do the ifs formula. So clicking on that, we're just going to do a series of logical tests. So we're going to do if this equals tx. Okay, I'm getting this name error because we need the quotations around it. And then if it's Texas, we're going to put it in tier A. Now we're referencing the same cell. We're checking M6, the state. If it's equal to GA, okay. Then it'll be tier A2. Now, if the next thing we can do is we still going to reference M6, and then when we drag the formula down, it will then do M7, M8, etc. But we're also going to include every possibility. So if it's California, then what are we going to have it reference, tier B or C? If it does say California, then I want it to show the value that we have in column O. Even though it's an NA here, it's going to populate up here first before it gets to that. And then one more, because we have 4 states in this example, so we're going to do the next logical test. If M6 equals New York, then we're also going to reference the geo-comp tier that we already pulled in. Okay, and that should be all 4 states that we have. And I'm going to click OK. And then as I drag this down, it's updating to each row. And then when I get here to California, it is looking at the tier that I pulled in previously. So this way I can know that we have all tiers in employee comp tier, all tiers in one column. And that's how I would do that. I could, if you wanted to combine everything into the if formula, you could copy this VLOOKUP formula. If I highlight up here and Control C, I could say copy the value if true for, instead of referencing column O, I could paste in the actual formula here. That should get you the same result. But since we already had that column there, sometimes it's easier to troubleshoot any formula issues if you have them broken out in separate columns. Then you can kind of pinpoint if you run into any issues where they're coming from. But from there, I'd probably hide this column because we don't really need it. It's just for this formula to reference. And that's how I would assign the comp tiers. So stay tuned for the next video where I'll be doing more analysis with this type of data that we have. And don't forget to go back and watch some of the other videos we had about working with addresses. And we also have some free resources here at Time Saving Templates. You can find those at timesavingtemplates.com/free resources. And you'll see we have a few different options for small business, rental property management, and the HR and compensation metrics cheat sheet, as well as a free guide to get you started with Excel. So until next time, don't forget I'm here to help you streamline and save time when it comes to using your Excel spreadsheets. See you next time. Thanks.